Imagine driving alone on a dark highway at midnight. You pull into a gas station for a quick stop, but the place looks abandoned. Inside, the shelves are empty, and 5 men stand silently in the dark, staring right at you. You rush back to your car, but minutes later, their headlights appear in your mirror, and suddenly, they surround your car on a deserted road. What would you do? I was on my way back from a road trip. Wasn't anything great, just visiting some of my folks for a few days. Eelways hated that the drive was 14 hours, though it was just too much to do comfortably in one day, but also not long enough to feel justified. In getting a hotel and making the drive twice as long, I always forced myself to do it all in one day, which just took all the enjoyment of the road trip completely lied of it. Anyway, I'd left my folks' place around 3-ish in the afternoon, so I was driving. Through the night was an smart move. I was tired and sleepy by 12 a.m., but this part of the road wasn't through cities or anything at all like that. It was barren forest roads or just open nothingness. Couple gas stations. Every so often, and maybe a few dirt streets leading to one where I figured I'd stop whenever I had the chance and grab something to keep me awake. A coffee, energy drink, literally anything. I found a small gas station a little ways down the road in the trees off the side of the highway. Looked like a local, so maybe a small town was behind it, though it was, of course, covered up by all the trees. No streetlights even went down that road that went behind the gas station. As I pulled in, I noticed this gas station looked a little strange. It wasn't like those modern ones with the giant overhang covering the pumps. It was just a few pumps sitting out in the pan and no lights near them. Even the building didn't look like it had lights inside. All this to say, I definitely would have a thought this place was closed or maybe even abandoned if not for the 3 or 4 other cars parked in the parking lot. It genuinely looked like a typical old school gas station on the side of a barren highway with other customers also here, except not as lit up as it should have been. But I assumed since others were here, it was still open. I parked next to the other cars and got out. As I walked up to the door, all I could see was my reflection on the glass until I opened it. The instant I opened the door, all 4-5 people standing scattered out. The inside of the shop immediately turned and looked at me. Not just a glance. They all shifted and stared simultaneously, holding their eyes fixed on me. The faces were all rugged and emotionless, but that's all I could see because after Bung caught off guard by them. In noticed not only was it insanely dark, but it was also empty in there. All thresholds were still standing, but nothing was on them. Even after seeing that and looking back up at all the men, they were still looking at me like I did belong there. All of this took place over maybe 10 seconds before I backed up and let the door close in front of me, then hurried back to my car. I didn't know what the hell that was, but it felt like some strange cult meeting at an abandoned gas station that I unknowingly barged in on. I pulled away from the store and back onto the road. Guess this was kind of one of those things you just don't think too hard about and move on from, because 10 minutes later I had accepted the fact that never actually know what I walked in and was back to looking for a gas station, hopefully an open safe one this time. The empty road didn't look promising though. Another 10-minute days went by when headlights came up behind. I was going relatively fast, maybe 10 or 15 over the speed limit, and with no other cars out on the road. This was the first time someone had come up behind me in probably hours, and then there was another, maybe even several more. I couldn't really tell as all their lights blended together. They were all coming up real fast, though I moved into the right lane to let them pass, and the first one did, but quickly merged back in front of me. I was wary now to already be slowing down a bit, but I definitely wasn't expecting them to slam on their brakes. Nearly had a heart attack as I did the same, trying to also swerve to avoid hitting them. I managed to stop just a couple feet from the bumper with my car slightly sideways, and that's when everything sort of set in. This was one of the cars from Thega station. I looked in the mirror. The car stopped right behind me, and another came and pulled up near Theodore. In a matter of seconds, multiple men were getting out of the cars and surrounding mine. If this were happening during the day and not on some desolate road at 1 a.m. with nobody else around, I might have taken a safer approach. But given circumstances, I felt I had no choice but to take the risk of trying to escape, with cars blocking every way. I drove off the road and into the trees, not getting too far before grabbing my phone and bailing from the car. I sprinted into the forest. It was essentially pitch black, even just 30 feet into the trees. I kept running, harangle the men's footsteps coming up behind them. But as I got deeper, I think they couldn't see enough to follow me. I sat up against a tree and waited, maybe a well hour even without turning my fin. I was scared one of them would bear round and see the screen. So I sat there and just stared at the nothingness of the pitch-black woods and listened to tough leaves rustling in the branches above me. After that hour, I finally got me phone out and used the map to get me back to the road where I could then get a signal enough to text 911. All the cars were gone except for mine, still between all the trees off the road. After that long night, a tow truck was able to get my car out, and surprisingly, it had almost no damage. Whoever had been following me and attempted to stop me, there's been new bait on. I think I've settled on theft, that the men likely thought I'd witnessed or seen something in that gas station that I shouldn't have, and so they followed me in an attempt to clear themselves, whether that was by kidnapping me or getting rid of me, and hiding any evidence in the secluded frost off the side of the road. The picture of me walking into that gas station, and all the men turning and staring at me, is still burned into my mind. It still haunts me thinking about what could have happened.